up your engine! Today I'm going to talk about a classic sports car. This is a 1991 Nissan 300ZX twin turbo. As you can see, it's got quite a bit of wear. That low front end is whacking into speed bumps here in Houston all the time. And you can see this is a Nissan Fairlady Z Z1 twin turbo with dual exhaust. Now these twin turbos were only made from 1991 to 1996. Now in their day, they were fast cars. Puts out 300 horsepower. And as we can see, fancy it all up, the Nissan twin turbo V6 engine, strong engine. Any owners modified it quite a bit. It's got a Howe Racing aluminum radiator. And these are fast becoming collector's cars. The price is starting to rise. Now originally this was about a $36,000 car, which was a lot of money back in 1991. And like any car, their values got lower over time, only now they're starting to go higher. It would not be a bad idea to pick one of these up and restore it these days. Now it can go 0 to 60 between 5 and 6 seconds, which of course isn't fast today. The Corvette I had the other day did it in like 2.6 seconds, so it's not comparable to a modern car. And it has a top speed of 155, which is limited by electronic governors. But as it stands as a classic car, it's a very good classic car that you might want to purchase. Because after all, this is 1991. It's probably one of the best years they ever made cars. These had the classic Japanese reliability and has the discs in the back. Not gigantic, but good enough to stop it. Now as old as this one is, it's a little bit worse for wear on the inside. What do you expect, you know? It's a classic two-seater here. This one's got a nice strengthening bar in the back to make the frame tighter for cornering. And it has state-of-the-art transmission for those days. A 5-speed standard transmission that was virtually indestructible. And for its day, look, it even had sport and touring suspension. That was a big deal back in 1991. We'll start it up. Starts right up like any Japanese car, and you can hear some turbo whine. Let's take it for a spin and see what it can do. Now let's see if the twin turbos still work. Yep, they still work. Still's got pickup to it. You can hear those turbos whining down. And man, the AC still works. Typical Japanese car. Now while we're driving it around, yeah, it's a little rough riding. Even with the fancy suspension, it's kind of worn out on this whole thing. But this is a fun little reliable sports car, even though it's a 91. Still has great handling. Still nice and tight handling. Not sloppy, even with all this age. You can hear those turbos whining. They make more noise the older they get. Now, compared to a modern sports car, hey, it's got nothing on the modern ones. It does have 300 horsepower, but with its weight, it's not super fast. In its day, it was a real screamer. But it's Japanese reliability. It's when Nissan was making reliable cars. You can get these things and still not have to do that much work on them. The body of this one has 149,000 miles. It is on its second engine. The first engine blew. You push any car, eventually it's going to blow the engine. But to really get speed out of this thing, you got to push it pretty high RPMs. That's just how the engine is. And as you can see, the technology is a bit outdated. We're talking about auto metal tape cassette sound system. But it is a Bose. It still sounds good. And really, the value on these older ones is keeping them original. You start putting a bunch of crap on them, and the value goes down because they don't have all the original equipment. Now, this particular one, the body parts are much the worse for wear. But painting a few plastic parts, you can get it to look like new. It's got the cool T-tops. You can take them both off if you want. Make it kind of a convertible. And look, a lot of guys will keep them kind of as a rat car. They won't do them over. They'll keep them kind of ratty looking to show what they are. An old, classic, ratty sports car. And since they're a classic 6-cylinder longitudinal design with rear-wheel drive, these make great drifting cars. Parts are readily available, as are aftermarket add-ons to give you more performance. Not all that expensive either. After all, that's how the Nissan Z series were. Nice sports cars, fun, zippy to drive, but they didn't break down, and they weren't super expensive. Although at $36,000, this thing wasn't cheap back in 1991 with the twin turbo setup. This was Nissan's top of the line car at the time. But they can be fun and easy to maintain. Look, here's the fuel filter. Yes, right there. Not hidden inside the gas tank, right in the front. These things are easy to work on. And look at the front headlamps. This isn't plastic. This is glass. It doesn't fade. Much nicer than that cheap plastic they're using these days. And this particular one, the body's still in good shape. The frame is good underneath. And sure, I can hear a little bit of noise from the rear end. The differential's a little bit warm. You expect that. When you have performance problems, you can have it rebuilt. You can buy a remanufactured one, or you can take a trip to the junkyard and try a used one if you're the gambling type. I was thinking about getting one of these as a toy. You better hurry up because the prices are starting to get pretty sky high now. People bought all the other collectibles. Now they're looking at these twin turbo Z cars. And strangely enough, for an old sports car, you can still use these things as daily drivers like my customer does. Just realize it's a period car. Back in 1991, the Corvette guys were scrambling to go 0 to 60 as fast as this thing did. But as I said, the modern Corvette would just blow this thing away. It does it between 2 and 3 seconds. This thing's much slower than that. Don't compare it to more modern ones. And this thing is now 30 years old. Let's see what those mid-engine Corvettes they just started making are going to be like in 30 years if they've got 150,000 miles or so on them. It's a fun, dependable sports car. Put a little money in one. If you get one that's beat up, you can drive it for years. And like I say, their values are starting to go up. So if you get them now, fix one up nice, you might even make money on it if you sell it in 5-10 years. Assuming you don't wrap it around a tree. This is an old car. It doesn't have any kind of collision avoidance systems and stuff on it. You get one of these, you better know how to drive if you buy it. This is a real driver's car, 5-speed, shift it yourself. If you don't know how to drive, don't buy one of these. So now you know the truth about these Nissan 300ZX twin turbos. A classic sports car that won't break your budget and can be driven every day. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Eric Estrada says, Scotty, I really like the Porsche SUV. Which one is best? The best one is the one your neighbor owns because then you don't have to pay for repairs. Those things are endless money pits. And realize that a lot of them, they're not really Porsches. They got Volkswagen engines and stuff in them. Volkswagen bought Porsche out ages ago. They're overpriced money pits. You know, I mean, if you really have to get one, take my advice, lease one. Then you'll get it out of your system and you don't have to pay for repairs. You will actually lose more money if you buy one and then get rid of it later than you will just leasing it and then giving up when the lease is up. That's how bad those cars are. But if you really got to get one, lease it. Or if your neighbor has one, borrow it from him every once in a while. That's a smarter move. Hippie Along says, how to flush out Deck's Cool. Well, I got a whole video on how to flush your cooling system, how you can watch that. Now, here's the thing. Deck's Cool, decades ago, they made it wrong, and it was rusting systems. I had customers with GM products that only had 30,000 miles, and they said it lasted for 80 or 90, and they corroded the system because they didn't make it right in the beginning. But that was decades ago. They have no problems anymore. They reformulated, so you don't really need to get rid of Deck's Cool. If you got it in a GM vehicle, you can continue using it. The new stuff has no problems at all. But if you want to flush any vehicle, to do it right, you basically have to take the thermostat out and then just get a garden hose and flush the whole thing through. We used to flush them with chemicals, but the chemicals polluted the water, and most of the flush chemicals these days are crap, and they don't do anything anyways. Garden hose will work just as good as just about anything else. Or, if you really want it flushed, pay a professional mechanic who has a flush machine that has chemicals that stay within a system, and then they dispose of them correctly. When they're done, they just don't flush them down the drain. Drew Kelly says, Scotty, you're awesome and honest. I want to put a supercharger in my 97 Firebird. What's your opinion? I love this car. You can do whatever you want. It's your money. A supercharger is an easy way to get power because a turbocharger, you got to change the exhaust system. Supercharger just bolts right on. But, and this is a gigantic but, you're probably going to blow the engine. Most guys, what they do first is they will build the engine up, rebuild it, put in stronger pistons, maybe forged pistons, do the heads over. Then they'll put a supercharger because they know their new engine can take it. So if you just put a supercharger on your car now, you'll probably blow the engine. But if you don't care, put it on, get a bunch of speed, and then when it blows, you're going to put another engine in, go right ahead. And you'll probably find out you'll have to put another transmission in soon after, too. Because if you put a supercharger, it might burn the transmission out, too, and you're going to have to replace that. But if you don't mind to keep replacing the parts, go right ahead. It's doable. You just got to keep putting more money in, putting stronger parts on it. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.